Hello everybody, this is Zerda with Zerda MTG back again. So today I'm going to be trying out a lurrus control deck. Obviously companion, that is going to be lurrus. Might have been in the, 60, but instead, let's get the free 61st card always in our hand, shall we? For our 1-drops, we have 4 copies of Scrabbling Claws. A little bit of card advantage engine if you get your lurrus going. You play one out, you sacrifice it, you draw a card, you play it back from your graveyard, you sacrifice it, so you can kind of just draw a card every turn. Also, pretty good in the meta at keeping Uros in the graveyard or in exile. Just, they'll never have the cards requisite to actually get the Uro out of the yard, or you can hit the Uro itself if it looks like they might. So the Uro, if they stack the triggers wrong, you could just get it, or if they didn't have the mana that turn and didn't expect a Scrabbling Claws. And, just kind of a way to get a little bit of card advantage there, as well as hate on the meta. Also, not to mention, good against other lurrus decks. We have 1 Mogus's Favor and 4 Deadweight to go with our Hateful Eidolon. I've decided to make this a little bit of a card advantage engine because I'm going to be playing enchantment-based removal either way. Mogus's Favor can bring itself back if we don't have the lurrus, also can go on to one of our life-linking threats and get in some damage if we absolutely have to. That's if we get to that point, we're not looking too good. Mostly this is against mono red. Just pick off their 1/1 creatures and be able to bring it back for 3 mana to kill another one if we get into that position. For our 2-drops, we have 3 copies of Hydroid Krasis. I was playing 4, cut the last one for a fine finality, just so we have any way to get back lurrus and also as another sweeper. Just kind of our big game is we hit the end game, say they've dealt with an early game Hydroid Krasis, not that we have the mana to really support an early game Krasis, but we can get there if we have it early, and we will just deploy it. And late game we can bring it back with lurrus, it fits the requirements, and recurring Hydroids is big game. Not as good as recurring Uros, mind you, but we can't play Uro in a lurrus deck. We've opted for the other broken 3-drop. 2 Mire's Grasp to go with both lurrus and Hateful Eidolon, just something that's a bit bigger removal. 4 Agonizing Remorse. Now we could play the, what's it called? The Dimir colored one that lets us surveil, but the exile kind of relevant, and we're gonna want to stick to that. Maybe I drop one and play a bit of surveil because it's good with lurrus and helps you fill your yard and gain card advantage, but I'm not entirely convinced on that, so I'm just going to go ahead and try and exile things so Elspeth Conquers Death and the like don't get them back. Also worth noting, the only thing our opponent can Elspeth Conquers is our lurrus itself, because we are a lurrus deck. 1 copy of Omen of the Sea. I'm not really sure what I wanted this to be. I kind of wanted something I could lurrus in theory, but then I decided to just up my Scrabbling Claws numbers. I wanted a cantrip, and this is kind of where I ended up. I could easily see it being something else, and if you guys have any recommendations, please leave them in the comments below, and while you're down there, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want to see better segues, leave better segues in the comments as well. Hey, there we are. Alright, we have 3 copies of Negate, just kind of good in the meta. There's a lot of things that we want to be able to stop from happening. We don't necessarily like Teferis coming down, we don't like fires coming down, we don't like anything like that, like a reclamation or a big explosion if they already have it. So we have this, also pretty good at countering a Luca, to be a little bit more relevant. 3 copies of Mystical Dispute, basically the same, counters anything if you have 3 mana up, blue spells if you have 1 mana up, just good card. 2 copies of Murder. We can't play the Murderous Rider because, 3-drop. So this is our best targeted kill anything removal. I would consider Heartless Act if it wasn't for Flourishing Fox, making it a little bit risky to play that. I want something that can, actually kill the fox, or just legitimately anything. There are counters that come in at surprising places right now, and I wish I had something better than Murder. I wanted on 3 or I'd play Eat to Extinction, but here we are. I suppose I might play the Eat to Extinction later instead of some other cards I have here, but for now this is where we are. 2 Farkia's Liberation. Now, the reason we're playing this is the very important text of we can make our opponent sacrifice an enchantment. So it can either kill a creature, and hopefully we've done a good job at keeping those off the board, or it can go ahead and eat an important enchantment. So, 2 copies of Extinction Event. We do play some creatures. We're going to win with creatures. I didn't want to run too many. It also exiles, which is both bad and good. Bad, obviously, because, well, we kind of want to recur our stuff. Good, because our opponent can't recur their stuff. So, we get to choose when to cast it. It's just a really good card. Hopefully it's better against our opponent than it is against us. 1 copy, Find Finality. It's a sweeper, and it is also card advantage and recursion. So if we lose our lurrus, we can find it back. If we just have 2 hydroid krasises, we don't really need the lurrus. We just find them back that way, or get back a Hateful Eidolon or 2 or 1, and start getting the card advantage going again. As for the mana base, 4 Fabled Passage because it can find our 1 forest, and is also a blue and black source at all times. 1 Overgrown Tomb, 1 Breeding Pool, 1 Triome is the end of our green mana sources. We don't have a lot of green. The only reason it's here is for the krasis, and I do think the krasis is pretty. It's one of the big reasons I'm playing this deck. So I could be convinced that it's wrong, but I think the interaction with krasis and lurrus is strong enough to explore. As for the rest of it, I do need 1 more rare wild card. I'd like to be playing the 4th Temple of Deceit, 4 Watery Grave, 3 Island, 4 Swamp. So I'd probably here, if I had to look, drop a Swamp for another Temple, maybe an Island for the Temple. Yeah, I'd probably drop the Island for another Temple. Just get us some more lands. Now, we're not counting the blast zones really as lands for the land count of this deck. We're pretty low to the ground. It can help us cast some of our colorless stuff, but honestly, this is basically a 22 land deck that gets to be 22 and a half, or 23-ish because of the zones. Like to count them as a half source when they don't produce colors. But we have enough cantripping going on, hopefully, that it should be fun. And that's the deck. Let's jump right on into these games and see how things go. Could be convinced that I need to play more lands, but I haven't tested this enough yet to really know. And I tend to try and play the fewest number of lands that is reasonable. Whether or not that is good is, well, it's up for debate. My theory is you would rather be mana screwed than mana flooded, because then at least when it ends, if you're still alive, you have spells to cast. Preferably neither, though. On the play, no blue mana against a lurrus deck. I like the Agonizing Remorse, but I don't like it enough to keep this. No removal, well, I guess no good removal, no blue mana. Let's try again. Alright, now this one I like. So I'll lead on probably the Triome. Turn 2 if I need to. I'll go Eidolon Deadweight. I'm definitely keeping this one. I think I'm gonna put the passage back. Of course, I could also just shock in Watery Grave, play Hateful. Yeah, I think I like that more. I like deploying Hateful on 1 this way a little bit more. Gives me more information before my scry. Alright, and I'm glad I took more information. I'm not liking what our opponent is doing. But at least we have I hesitate to call it a clock. Good, but not what we need right now. Right now, I'd honestly rather draw land. We played against this deck earlier. It feels really, really close. It's just about keeping their board clear long enough that we're able to hold up counter magic for their Zenith Flares and finding Scrabbling Claws. Deadweight their Fox. They cannot save it. We will draw a card here from our Eidolon. Well, I suppose they could save it, I just don't see... Like, by cycling they can't, is what I'm getting at. Alright, resolve the cycle. It's a 2/2, 0/0. Our enchantment was on it, we draw a card. Deploy a Scrabbling Claws. Start eating away at their graveyard. So this is another deck that the Claws is pretty good against because it shrinks their Zenith Flares and puts some real pressure on them to go as fast as they can. And if they stumble a little bit, then we kind of just shrink their Zenith Flares so much that they're basically non-entities. Alright, so hopefully we draw a land on our turn. I will not be crackling the Scrabbling Claws. Oof. Not a card we like seeing. If we draw a land... Alright. Well, exile a card from their grave, because no matter what, it's just going to be a cycler. And no matter what, they're able to choose one. I am somewhat tempted to just deploy the lurrus here, but doing that for no value makes me, no immediate value makes me hesitant. I suppose doing that means that next turn, if it survived, which is anything except a Zenith Flare. So I could eat a Zenith Flare if they have one, and there's not anything else that deck does that can kill my lurrus. So yeah, I'm just gonna deploy lurrus. Pass turn. My turn, I will use lurrus to play the deadweight, eat the Valiant Rescuer, and put down another threat that's able to start jumping and eating away at their tokens, preventing them from coming in. And that's why I kind of wish we had more lands. I do tend to think this deck does want to make its first at least 5 land drops. Alright, opponent's deploying threats. I guess they have the fight spell. That is something I should have considered a little bit more. I do like that we kind of just ate their healer there though. Alright, excellent. Continue to eat away at their yard. This is also making their lurruses worse, which is very much worth noting. Kill their guy. Draw a card. Alright. And we'll attack here. We're getting in for damage. And it's the same life total as if we didn't, unless they attacked for some reason. Alright, so there I forgot about the fight spell. I wouldn't have played out the lurrus. I'd have Agonizing Remorse to last turn. Still wouldn't be in a great spot. But I'd have access to lurrus for when I need to inevitably start eating away at their board. So that is something to keep in mind, is you have to be careful with how you ration your lurrus. And if they do cast their lurrus here, I have a little more time. They cast their lurrus, I was going to say I want to go ahead and eat their rescuer because it's the biggest threat to me. I think our opponent is worried about removal themselves though. Hopefully this remorse can... Oof. I was going to say hopefully this remorse can eat a Zenith Flare. Which I think our opponent is pretty likely to have here. Alright. And here, as you can see, we've shrunk... Oh. What are you going to say? We've already shrunk their Zenith Flare by 4. Just the number of turns it's been out. Every turn is a shrink. Alright, we eat a Zenith Flare. Pay 2 life. And now we're gonna start holding up negate. Alright, out of what's in their yard, I'm not sure what I most want to have exiled. If they swing, I'll trade my Eidolon for their Valiant Rescuer. It being a 1-2 is also pretty good against Mono Red, and Lifelink is obviously good in that matchup. We're not so attached to this card needing to give us card draw that we just hold on to it. We're more using it as a little bit of utility, and if we can ever trade it away, then that's basically a removal spell in this deck, so we will take that opportunity. Opponent holding up Zenith Flare mana. Excellent. And we're going to continue eating away at their Zenith Flare's size. Every turn that passes is a victory for us. They will eventually start to flood and we'll make a little bit more headway. Of course, we also would rather they deploy Lurrus next turn, so we're able to Mystical Dispute it. Something we would like to be able to do here. I think even if they played the land, I think we still dispute, so they can't get their value this turn. And we have a chance to draw some removal. Not great, obviously, but I think it's our best shot. And here, we will dispute, make our opponent pay the mana. How big is Zenith Flare right now? 9. Resolves. We have a turn to draw some removal. I'm going to use the Scrabbling Claws to try and draw that removal a little more desperately, and also hold up double counterspell next turn. So here, I think the biggest threat, we can't get rid of the foxes, so I suppose we get rid of the Rescuer. And we've shrunk the Zenith Flare by 7 points of damage, which is something I'm fairly happy about, if not the most ecstatic. Alright. So now, we're starting to get in trouble. Really did need right there to draw something. I think we make a 4/4 Krasis and just accept that we might take an absurd amount of damage from their Zenith Flare. Well, I suppose not absurd because of the work we put in. We also accept this Krasis is probably going to die to that Zenith Flare. Alright. Not good. Definitely wish I'd played a little more slowly with that Lurrus there. Because if we had access to that, they wouldn't have even been able to drop their Lurrus without losing it. I'm more than happy for them to deploy their Stinger. We're still sitting at a healthy life total. And I'll consider it a victory if they Zenith Flare our Krasis. Alright. Excellent. Excellent, excellent. Okay, so here we get to take down the Lurrus and draw a card in the process. Or, you know, have a Zenith Flare pointed at our Hopeful Eidolon. I think I'd dispute that. Just to make use of it and keep our value train going. We avoided the worst case scenario by a lot. We just never get to tap out of this negate for the rest of the game. Excellent. Another thing to stonewall their token production. Play an island so that we keep up double counter, hit them for 4 with the krasis. Now if we draw any deadweight style effect for their Valiant Rescuer, that is 2 cards drawn from it, so we start getting some card advantage, which is super sweet. Cantripping removal's good enough. Divination stapled on is just icing on the cake. This card is very fun to play with, and I think actually pretty powerful. As you can see, holding back tokens. Just imagine those were mono red's tiny little hasty creatures. Alright, and here we have it. Gonna Agonizing Remorse. They're going to Zenith Flare. I'm going to negate. No reason to let them have a Zenith Flare. Opponent's graveyard. And I'll take away a point of damage for their next Zenith Flare. Hit them for 4. Maybe it was wrong to force them there, because I'd have rather caught them in a double Zenith Flare turn with Mystical Dispute. But I was considering the possibility of hitting another card, I suppose. Or there already being a double Zenith. Yeah, I think that was wrong. I should have held my Agonizing Remorse. It was better to hold up negate to force them to do it on their turn than it was to try and get in on mine. Alright. I suppose here if they hit Zenith Flare we're still good. We'll dispute probably anything they do. Maybe not. Holding up double might be better. No, because they can already, if they just hit a Zenith Flare, pay through double dispute anyway. Well, with 1 more land. Right, so we'll block. And we'll block. And we'll take a total of 1 damage. That is fine. Opponent getting in as much value as they can manage. Alright, let's go ahead and draw 2 cards, killing their Stinger. There we go. Deadweight. Oh, that would have been very, very nice. For shame, though. For shame. And we can still hold up 3 copies. I'm going to attack with everything. This is going to force blocks, gain us life, and it's basically the same as if we didn't do this. We still have 1 blocker back. They can't let anything through or they die. And those would have been attackers anyway, so either way was the same thing there. Could you imagine a Deadweight now? Near strictly better Ancestral Recall. Kill a creature, draw 3 cards. Huh. This wasn't the plan, it was 1 at a time, but you know what, I ain't complaining. Right, I don't believe they'll be able to cycle enough cards to make me care. Alright. Ooh. Okay, let's see. Let's go ahead and find Lurrus. Found Lurrus. We could have finality'd, grown our dude. I don't think we need the extra damage, most likely. And if we did, I suppose I should have waited post-combat is what I really should have done. Resolve all. And I agree. That was a pretty sweet game. We exiled a very large portion of their graveyard, around half of it. And hey, finally made it back to platinum. It's been a while. See if I can make it back to diamond. Highest I ever managed was diamond 2. Started halfway through the season. Alright, so as you can see, the exile pretty relevant in that matchup. If we didn't have the counters, those Zenith flares wouldn't have even been life-threatening, whereas otherwise we'd have had to play afraid the entire game, because any Zenith flare from the point we had 7 of their cards exiled would have been basically just lethal when combined with their attacks. Opponent goes first. They're an Obosh, the Prey Piercer deck. We have Interaction and a Scry for more lands and more interaction. I'll go ahead and keep this, although it's low-end keepable. Alright, so here, yeah, I think I'm actually going to, alright, so Hydroid Krasis, worst card we could have drawn, but that doesn't much matter here. I'm thinking if I shock, it's like I took the hit anyway, but if I play the Temple this turn, I could still draw the Hateful Eidolon. Ugh, I do want the Mogus's favor. But I also really want lands. I'm gonna have to get rid of that. I really need to draw lands here. And start actually setting up, and I don't want to put all of the weight on my Omen of the Seas. Also, there was the possibility of things like Bone Crusher Giant to be concerned about. And Deadweight has to team up, and then I take a lot of damage. Yep, too much to wish that they missed their 3rd land drop. Alright, I'll go ahead and take my Comeuppance to rid them of a creature. So as you can see, it's good there. If they had swarmed the board, it would have been bad, so don't take that as a endorsement of the card. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's awful. Alright. Excellent. Exactly what we wanted. Just a shame we don't get to use it quite yet. We're going to hold up Mystical Dispute this turn, because if they land the Obosh, then we're in big trouble. Ugh, another Heraldic Banner. Alright, I think we let that resolve. Which means we're again holding up mana next turn. I'm not liking this. But this is the position we're in. If we draw another land, we're happy. If we don't, we're sad. So on bottom. Suppose we would also like to draw Mogus's favor. So I will shuffle before I Omen, which is also good because it preserves my Scry. Yep. Light up the stage. Oof. Phoenix of Ash. And I will grab a green source so the Krasises are alive. So one of the painful things about playing around Obosh is you are not always just allowed to play around Obosh. Tapping the green because we have nothing in our entire deck that we could spend it on at the end of our opponent's turn. Alright. Goodbye, Find Finality. Hello, Deadweight. Now we get to hold up Mystical Dispute and eat their Tin Street Dodger. Yeah, there was some thought I was giving there to Agonizing Remorse. Don't think it's worth it. If I need to, I'll Agonizing Remorse to exile the Phoenix after it's dead. Another Heraldic Banner. Oh boy. Anything they play now, I'm going to dispute. Yeah. Because anything they play is absolutely gigantic. So here, Agonizing Remorse them. Unless there's something nightmarish in their hand, which there is. There's another Phoenix. Does that mean we're just dead? I guess I'll take the one from their hand, though. No, I won't. I'll take the one from their grave because it can grow. Which feels wrong to me, but I'm basically positive it's right. Pay 2 life to drop our first Krasis so that we can trade with their Phoenix. Feels bad to have to shock there and lose life on our Krasis instead of gain it. But once we start lurrusing Krasises, we'll be more than happy to do that. I imagine they're going to, yep, annex. Not what we wanted, but what we have to deal with here. We'd like a Scrabbling Claws. Not a Scrabbling Claws. No real point in going lurrus into exile, so instead I'm gonna go ahead and hydroid krasis for max amount. Get a little bit more life, continue to keep our opponent from managing to get in. Next turn I'll lurrus, take down the Phoenix. I might, or no. I want to trade the Krasis for the Phoenix is the thing. Not a dead weight. I mean, I will if I don't have another play there. But if possible, I'd rather even sacrifice Omen, lurrus, play Omen. Alright. Opponent is coming in hot. These will be massive tokens. Each and every single one of them capable of taking out lurrus. Hey. Alright, not sure what our plan is. Worth noting, those are not odd mana costs, they're just 4/1s. Sad. I used to doubt if this card was good enough. I 100% think it is if you both need to hit 5 mana and are an aggro deck. Something I never thought would exist. Hateful Eidolon. It'll trade next turn. Lurrus will jump in front of something next turn. Maybe, if I have to, I guess. For now, I'll draw a card. See if I can chain removal. Maybe find a murder. Couldn't find a murder. Can't believe these words are going to exit my mouth, but hopefully our opponent has a burn spell so we can use this negate. Actually, hopefully they have only lands. Let's go with what we actually believe. I think that Phoenix is actually lethal, though. Yep, that Phoenix is very much lethal. Yeah, I liked that game. We definitely lost it very convincingly to those heraldic banners, but I think it was a pretty good game. And yeah, and starting next turn, if they had let us, we'd have been able to draw the Hateful Eidolon, play the Hateful Eidolon, play a dead weight from our yard, draw 2 cards, murder, kill the lurrus, or kill the obosh. So this was actually pretty close if we had one more turn there. Which, once again, I doubt they'd have swung with everything there and forced our trades. I imagine. They're not just going to let us sit there and pick off their team for value. But just to show you that even when we're losing that badly, if we had them stumble a little bit more, had a little more life to play with, that game could have ended fairly differently. We can go from losing to winning very, very quickly. As long as killing creatures is involved. I go first against Zerda with this hand. Suppose these are cantrips. Trying to think, what is... That's the cycling deck? Actually, yeah, I'll keep this against the cycling deck. And I'll lead on a Temple of Deceit, I believe. Get tap land out of the way. Start digging for more mana, because that's really what I want here. If I have to, I'll crack the Scrabbling Claws. If not, I'll keep them around long enough to, you know, be able to start lurrusing. I don't imagine we're going to want agonizing remorse over more land drops here. We'd also like some removal. There's the fox. Please, removal. Well, as long as they don't play more creatures, I'm happy. This is the downside of playing edicts. Though do bear in mind we have extinction events to catch up. Phew. 2 foxes. Submit. Exile. Resolve. 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 And we're gonna take some damage here. One thing I'll say is we don't really need to worry about Zenith Flare though. Here we'll exile immediately. Normally waiting doesn't much matter, but we really don't want our opponent to... Oh wait, this isn't Lurrus. Okay. It's reminding me it's Zerda. Which I suppose is pretty nice because of the reduced mana cost on the looting thing I can't remember the name of right now. Alright, I would still like to draw Mire's Grasp. The game has somehow progressed in such a way that it is an actively good draw. Be able to play Hateful Eidolon and take out the fox. I'll take a murder too. Dead weight, not bad. It still kills a creature. And draws us a card. Just because we have better draws doesn't mean we won't take one of our good ones. I don't think I'll block here, but if they do happen to cycle at all, I am going to crack my Scrabbling Claws. If not, I'll probably crack it on myself. Not what I want to do, but I have no real need of a large graveyard. Right. And we really need to draw land here. I'm going to keep the Hateful Eidolon back again to be able to block the soldier. Not the dead weight, take the liberation. Hope we hit some lands. Alright, so I'm definitely convinced now we want more lands in this deck. I'm gonna try going up to 25, maybe 26. Alright, not what I wanted either, but So we're safe from Zenith Flare at least. Suppose I could go Lurrus Deadweight? No, I can't. Mana doesn't line up. Because I'd have to go black, black, and then not have it left over. So yeah, we're going to Krasis for 1 here. Well, for 2. But gain a life, draw a card. In other words, lose a life, draw a card, but hey. Excellent. Might be a little bit too little too late, but I'll take whatever I can get right now. Okay. Free 3/3 and tapper. We're going to throw our creature under the bus here. Alright, so now I'm able to go lurrus plus deadweight on their Valiant Rescuer. Wish I could get down those hateful eidolons first, but alas, it is not in the fates. Grab another swamp. Deploy lurrus. Deploy deadweight. Kill Valiant Rescuer. If they cycle, we immediately exile. Draw a card. So, I'm assuming they don't have anything to cycle because of how they did that. Which is good news for us, but it's also not the I suppose not. They might be trying to get us here, make us think they don't have anything to cycle so that we double block the Flourishing Fox and don't get to eat it. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and block the Flourishing Fox with the hateful eidolon here. I'm not gonna take any bait. No blocks, and if they had cyclers, I was dead. Yep, there we go. I think they had that last turn, and they're trying to get us. I'm not gonna exile that. Alright. Oh, we're 1 mana short of it, though. Dang. That would have been very, very good. Been an amazing use of our turn. For shame, though. For shame. Instead, if we'd had 1 more mana. So once again, if we'd played a few more lands in here, we'd have been able to board wipe. As it stands, I'm going to hateful eidolon, deadweight their token. Draw 2 cards. Myers grasp their Zerda. Oh, that's right. Don't have the mana. For shame. For shame. Agonizing Remorse, not exactly what I'm looking for. And I'll pass the turn. We'll throw 1 creature in front of their Flourishing Fox. So I know full well this isn't going to counter it. I'm still going to use it to make them use their mana and prevent them from being able to start looting. Because of the reduced lurrus cost, I believe it would have been 6 normally, now it's 4. And I don't want them to start digging through their deck at an increased speed. We have exiled 7 cards, that is 7 cards that or 7 damage from any potential Zenith Flares. I can't believe we countered that. I'm scared. We'll once again put 1 creature in front of the lurrus, in front of the Flourishing Fox. Take 3. Gain 1. Nothing could possibly be better than an opponent who tapped out here, but let's be real. We're not that lucky. Ooh. Alright. So I'm not liking what I think we're going to do here, because it's going to lose us our lurrus permanently, and also kind of take away our big plans, but alas, I think it's what... I'm trying to see if I can get away with waiting another turn before I Extinction Event. Or Finality. I can't Finality. I think the Flourishing Fox would live. So I'm going to deploy another Hateful Eidolon from the yard. And I'm going to Myers Grasp onto their Stinger. Swing with my lurrus. Hold on, is that not of permanence? Alright, fair enough. Okay. We're starting to get scary close to dead, even through things that we thought we were safe from before. So I'm just going to go ahead and swing out and Extinction Event. Obviously naming odd. We gain 4 life. We've drawn our cards. We can accept our fate. Lurrus is also very conveniently in the graveyard where we can find it. I wasn't actually expecting them to, you know, block it there, but I'll take it. Might be dead to a Zenith Flare now that we've tapped out of being able to keep exiling. I think on our turn we'll deploy a big Hydroid Krasis, gain a little bit of life, and no. I think we find back Lurrus. If we have the mana, find Lurrus, play Scrabbling Claws. Yeah, that's what we're doing. This way, we are least likely to die to any Zenith Flare shenanigans, now that we're starting to gain control of this game. Play another Scrabbling Claws. Exile another card. And Scrabbling Claws are really doing work here. We drew it late, still pretty relevant. So as long as we dodge the kill this turn, I think we'll be able to eat enough cards out of their yard that we're safe. And start swinging in. Alright, if that's a second Zenith Flare, then it doesn't matter what we do here, we're just dead. Alright, I think we played this pretty well. And if we ended up being a turn short and lost to double Zenith, yep. That was a really good game. I was just doing that to try and shorten the opponent's clock. Not trying to save us. I realized there was no way we could if they had the second. But as you could see, we were very close to re-establishing dominance in that game. And if the luck had swung a little bit in the other direction, this deck would have been able to pull through. But I think what really got us is the bad mana base. So the next time I play this, just continuing to play now because we want to have a larger sample size before we're definitive. I'm keeping this, it's pretty good. They're an Obosh deck. We have some removal counter. Actually, they're an Obosh deck. And we have expensive removal. They could be the bigger version. I'm gonna mull this, though. I'll keep this. I like deadweights a lot more than liberations. I don't like the... Problem is, trying to hold up the counter for the Obosh is really difficult, as we saw earlier. I'm gonna get rid of the liberation, though. I think it's by far our slowest card. Fervent Champion. I believe I will shock deadweight that. Ooh, Extinction Event. One of our best cards at just dealing with all the nonsense they want to pull. Yeah, I'm going to shock dead weight, because if they have another one, then this saves us the life. And if we draw a land, we would rather Agonizing Remorse to try and fill out a curve a little bit better. Unless, of course, they play something very big this turn. They didn't. Now, Scrabbling Claws isn't exactly an all-star in this matchup, but they do have Phoenixes, so I'll keep this around until I need to crack it. Exile as many cards as I can before sending it off and having it replace itself. Here we'll play a Fabled Passage and end the turn. Next turn with luck, we'll be able to Agonizing Remorse our opponent, take any of their bigger plays. 10 Street Dodger is fine, we have a dead weight. Gonna go ahead and find another black mana here. Worst case scenario, we'll want to deploy a lurrus as a life-linking blocker. So hopefully it never comes to that. Annex and that damn barrier. We'll keep their Phoenix low. And I believe this turn we're just going to Agonizing and Deadweight. If they land the Annex, it's unfortunate, but not the end of the world. Especially considering they have another one. Glad we're keeping that Phoenix down. I'll take the Bone Crusher Giant. It's the most damage and most difficult to block. They're not able to deploy both of those though, so if I take the Annex, they lose the... Yeah, I'll take the Bone Crusher, I think. It just represents the ability to both kill my blockers and still be a 4/3. It's actually a tough one though. Yeah. I'm gonna take it. And let's kill the 10 Street Dodger. Alright, unfortunately they hit a land. I was kind of hoping they'd stayed unable to actually play their spells. But alas, we cannot just be the luckiest people alive. Exile a card from their yard. Next turn, I don't care what they're doing, I'm going to Mystical Dispute it. Especially if it's Obosh, but if it's not, I'm not going to sit around and do nothing. I have the Extinction event for when I need to hit more than one creature here. So now, deploy the Eidolon. I'll let them shock it. Use up their cards. Take their Annex. Yep, I do not mind. I want that Annex gone so I can continue keeping them completely off of, ooh, that was a bad play. Well, it's not going to hurt me too much. I should have done this before putting a second, letting them put that card in their yard. In trade. But they're not able to get it back either way because we have shut off the escape. Suppose we do need to hit the 4th land for this, so maybe I am being a little greedy. Yeah, I think I'm was being a little bit greedy here. Hit that, get a card draw. Land, please. Not what I meant. Not a land at all. Not only is it not what I meant, it's not what I wanted. Alright, so if we take another hit, we're dead. And if they have a burn spell, we're dead. Well, I guess not shock. You know, I'll take the negate on that while I can. Deal with both halves of the Bone Crusher Giant there. Land, please. I don't want to throw Lurrus away. Alright, throwing Lurrus away. Obviously, this is a nightmare scenario, but this is why having the 8th card in your hand is always good, especially when it has lifelink. Oof, Fervent Champion. Block the thing that'll actually gain us life, please. Oh wait, no. It didn't matter. Oops. Alright, so if we'd hit the 4th land at any point that game, we easily won. Which is, to me, very telling. This has been a recurring problem throughout all of our games. We're going to give it one more still, before the end of the video. And next time you see me playing this deck, it will definitely be with more lands in it. I like to play with low land counts, but I always forget that's in formats with lots of scrying or very similar effect on their cantrips. Right, on the play, lead on Triome, turn 2 if I need it. I have Remorse, no companion, so I'm not sure what's up. I'll keep. Tap land. Alright, so that island concerns me, but I'm pretty sure Spell Pierce isn't legal, so I'm going to Agonizing Remorse and figure out what's going on. That's what I was afraid of. Okay, Brazen Borrower, Quench, Mystical Dispute. Quench lets them use their mana the most efficiently. Brandborn Cutthroat is absurdly annoying. We do, however, have a dead weight. This can't target their own creatures, and we can eventually get it. I'm gonna take the Quench because it lets them trade with our resources and stay ahead, whereas this is gonna force our opponent to start committing. Alright. So I think I'm going to play another Agonizing Remorse here. Especially before I deploy my land. They'll deploy their Brindborn. Oh. Ooh, they drew another one. Now I'm tempted to try and lean in on the Extinction event and just take the Mystical Dispute. Let's see, what do I want my opponent to not have? Second Brindborn is real. Brazen Borrower. Maybe I stick on the take away their interaction idea. Yeah, because when I start Lurrusing, I'm going to want to keep Lurrusing. So here, my best draw is a land. Still gonna crack this. I don't ever need to fetch my forest because of the Triome. I'll grab a swamp because it's my most needed mana color. Excellent. Dead weight on their Cutthroat. And I'm somewhat tempted to just deploy my Lurrus under counter magic, but they could still have Mystical Dispute. During their upkeep, I'm going to Liberation. It does give them the opportunity, obviously. And I'm going to let them draw the card, because right now what I want to do is get my opponent to use a counterspell, so that my Extinction event will be a little bit better, and my Lurrus will be a little bit better. Alright. Well, I say better, I mean more certain. I'm gonna go ahead and assume that my opponent doesn't have the counter, and if they do, I have Extinction Event anyway, so... Alright, excellent. And I think this is the last turn Deadweight would have killed that. Go for it. Do you have another spell? Nope. Alright. Temple of Deceit. We will deploy our lurrus again, even though it is a little bit risky because we want to get it. Mystical Dispute is live again. Our opponent gets to scry at the end of the turn. If we do nothing, we're going to deploy lurrus and end the turn. Nice. So next turn, if we keep our lurrus, then we get a free Deadweight. Like I said, I was trying to build that deck. I couldn't figure out a budget way to do it. Excellent. Now we play around Mystical Dispute no matter what happens here. We are, however, getting very, very close to just being dead anyway, though. Hitting us for 3 here, unsummoning, bouncing lurrus with the Petty Theft would be really annoying. Deadweight the Brazen Borrower. So that if our lurrus dies in combat to whatever they play, we're still good. I'm aware they could have the shark here. I really need to gain some life though. And the plan of using lurrus as a chump blocker if they do have the shark isn't exactly a winning one. Ooh, 1 top. Maybe it's the draw cards 1/1? I don't believe it is, but Brazen Borrower. I will negate that. And I believe this is where game is found. Especially if we draw any card advantage here. And there you have it, negate taking that down, lurrus being the 8th card, swinging us on into victory. So when we hit our lands, things go well. And there you got to see the power of, like, not even the Eidolon shenanigans with Deadweight, but just lurrus in general with Deadweight is a really, really powerful and potent combination that you should try and do if you have the ability. Because it's basically the same thing as the Eidolon, except the card you draw is always a Deadweight. And it just kills a creature. So, you know, Deadweight, lurrus, pretty good. Mire's Grasp, we didn't have as many because we want these more against, we want our -X removal more against the aggressive decks, and we want 1 mana removal as opposed to 2 mana removal. Still need some 2 mana removal, of course, so we still keep those in. So here, next time I'm going to play this with a few more lands. Not entirely sure what I'm going to cut. Maybe I cut a Mogus's Favor or a Deadweight. Because I do like that Deadweight can also kill lurrus and can also kill things from the cycling deck. Maybe the Mogus's Favor is just a little too cute. That would be the 4th Temple of Deceit. Maybe I cut down... I could see a lot of places I could cut down. I'm just not positive where I'm going to. So let's go ahead and cut the Mogus's Favor for now. And let's see. I could also add more green sources. If I had another Triome, I would also add another Triome because of the cycling ability on the land, making it pretty good. Most of our deck is black. We'll add another Swamp. I was going to do this next time, but I might as well show you what the thought process is here for now. I think I want to keep the Find Finality, just the ability to bring back anything we need in the late game. Even if like lurrus is gone, lurrus is exiled, but we have a Hydroid Krasis, just getting it back is still pretty good. Sorry, I had to sneeze there. Muted the mic for you all though. And the other half of it being the board wipe that can keep our creature alive. Basically just a krasis though. But it can keep our krasis alive, which is pretty big game. Say we had a 3/3 krasis, next turn it'll be a 5/5 krasis, we have one creature, they have no creatures. That's a really powerful place to be. It's a shame it won't be able to keep a lurrus or any of our lifelinkers alive, but them's the breaks. Maybe it's Farkia's Liberation we want to cut. It is the worst removal spell, but it's also there mostly not against the creature decks. Maybe it's Murder, but that is our kill anything removal. Maybe Omen of the Sea. Yeah, I think it's Omen of the Sea. We have Scrabbling Claws for a card draw. We're a little bit more tap out than draw go. Obviously we have counter spells because this format kind of demands them. At least if you want to play a mid-rangey deck or a controlling deck. So yeah, I think cut the Omen of the Sea and play another island. No, it might even just be another swamp. Anyway, we're at 26 lands at least now. So I'd normally have that island be a temple. Don't have the 4th temple right now. It might be the next rare wild card I get, I'm not sure. Depends on if I think this deck still has any merit going forward. But no matter how you slice it, that is Lurrus control. Tune in next time. I think I might be trying out Reanimator again. Not too sure yet, don't get your hopes up. Please like, comment, subscribe, and if you want to see Reanimator or any other deck in our next video, please let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you all next time. Ciao for now, and watch as I continue to say these things as I search for the end of recording.